One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. I love it when we get questions from the podcast community, because it's so helpful when it's not just me thinking of ideas or talking about situations that I've been through, because I've been doing this for a long time at this point. I've been podcasting since 2018, and some of the questions or the issues that I face today in my own personal journey may not be something that you are facing if you're in the first 6 to 12 months of your podcasting journey. So today we have an extra special question that comes directly from the Profit Podcast free Facebook community. And I cannot wait to dive into this, because it is something that I realized, we haven't revisited that topic in a few years. So we needed to talk about it anyway. We are talking about what it's like in a week in the life of a podcaster. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach you how to start, launch, and market your content with confidence. I'm your host, Crystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, because if you've been trying to figure out the world of content creation, this is the show that will help be your time-saving shortcut. So let's get right to it, shall we? Okay, welcome back today. This is going to be so much fun. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into Theresa's question, because this is where all of this came from. So thank you, Theresa, for being the inspiration for today. So she says, somewhere I thought there was a, quote, week in the life of a podcaster episode, a podcast or a lesson. I can't seem to find it. So my podcasting friends, what does your week usually look like as far as podcasting? Do you follow a set schedule for recording? My work schedule is varied week by week, and I'm trying to plan not just a launch date, but some sort of schedule for content creation, editing, production, and promotion. Overly like there won't be enough hours in a day, but you're doing it, so I know it can be done. Thanks ahead of time. Off to work I go. So again, Theresa, thank you so much for submitting this question. And first and foremost, You are not alone. Okay. Can we just throw that out there? You are not alone in feeling like there is so much to do and not enough time to do it all in. So I'm glad that you asked this question. And I know that so many people are saying, yes, please, this is the kind of content that we need here today. But we have, so Theresa, you aren't, losing your mind. You have seen this before. I have some podcast episodes and YouTube videos that I'm going to link to in the show notes and the video description of today's episode. So you can absolutely go check those out after you listen to today. And it will be helpful because those videos were created when I was in the middle of that journey. So I literally lay out a Monday through Friday, even Saturday and Sunday schedule of what I used to do back in the day. But what I'm going to share with you today is what I recommend for people now. So it is a good comparison to see when I laid it out like every single day, but it was too, I would say, like prescribed for exactly how I did things. And this is a lot more of take this framework and then apply it to what you're doing today. So I'm not going to tell you on Monday, do this, on Tuesday, do that, on Wednesday. That's kind of what the earlier versions of today's content is. So that's what I just want to give that disclaimer. Please go check out the other content that I've created. But for today, this is the tried and true method that I've developed since I started in 2018. And I cannot wait to share with you. So I have 3 segments that we're going to walk through. And they're going to be super helpful. So let me just tell you them high level. We're going to go through my Prep-em method. So this is what I teach all my clients, all my students. Anybody who goes through Profit Podcasting is probably familiar with this by now. But then we're going to dive into doing a time audit once you've done the Prep-em method and you've written all of that stuff down. And then the last thing is I'm actually going to share my Asana boards of what this looks like to implement the Prep-em method. So if you're listening on the Profit Podcast, just the audio only version, go ahead and head over to YouTube and watch this video to get the full visual effect. Once you're done, if you want to finish the audio version, that's cool. I love that too. But if you want like the in-depth, show me exactly what all of this looks like, then head on over to YouTube and you're going to see it. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see like my notes here. I have everything broken out for the Prep-em method and what this looks like. So let's start with what the heck does that mean? And I was actually on a live stream recently and we were talking about it. It's on the StreamYard channel if you want to go check it out. Me and Melanie, like one of my great friends, we went and we were talking about and breaking down the Prep-em method. And she was like, Prep-em, like, I don't understand. And I was like, I used to be a cheerleader. Like, give me a P, give me an R, give me an E. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just did that. And I did live, with, tons of people watching. I did it. I don't even care. And I just did it again today. But, here we are. This is where we are in this journey. But Prep-em stands for P is for plan, R is for record, E is for edit, P is for publish, and M is for marketing and monetization. Now, what I say a lot of the time is people will go through steps 1 through 4. They plan, they record, they edit, and then they publish, but they don't get to the marketing step. And the marketing, let's be honest, it's probably the most important because you're spending hours, days, years creating all this content. But if you're not telling anybody about it, how is anybody ever going to see it? How are people going to know that it's there? So let's break down the Prep-em method and give you a little bit more details behind every single piece of this. So plan. This is planning out your content. So whether it's a podcast episode, a YouTube video, your weekly email that you're sending to your list, social post, there are elements of the content that can help you feel more confident when you're recording it, when you're writing it, when you're creating it, if you plan it. If you plan your content, you're going to feel so much better about it. I cannot tell you, especially if you're watching the video, you can see my Asana. Like I have plans, I have outlines, it's not a full-blown script, but it is a lot more detailed than I used to be. And the reason for that is 1, so don't forget anything. 2, it keeps me on track so I don't tell a bunch of stories and get lost in thought and say something and then it takes me forever to go back and edit and it's just a whole thing. But it also makes me a better marketer because I know before I even sit down to record the key takeaways that I want you to have from today's episode. I knew that before I ever hit record. How awesome is that? So after this, it's so meta, right? I'm recording the thing and I'm talking about recording, and then I'm going to tell you about how I'm going to market this after I do it. I know it's a whole thing, but I just wanted to tell you that it is so much better to create from a place of confidence when you know exactly what you're going to tell your audience later. So whenever this is done and I'm talking to you in the future after this is all complete and I'm saying, hey, go check out this video, go listen to this podcast, because I'm breaking down my Prep'em method and I'm walking you through how you apply it to your content. And then you're going to do a time audit on what that looks like. And I'm sharing my Asana boards. Go check it out. It is very clear that this is what I need to say in order to market to other people, to tell them why they should listen to it. So all of that to say, planning, and I've said this multiple times, but I'm going to say it here again, planning is where I spend the majority of my time. And the reason is if you plan more, you can save so much time recording, you can save more time editing, you save time publishing, and you save time marketing your content. So spend a little bit more time. I would rather see you spend an hour planning your content than 3 hours editing it because you didn't know what to say, you got all tripped up, and it took you way too long to spit out the thing you wanted to say. Okay, so this is like first and foremost what you need to do. So planning, super important. Recording. So recording the content that you plan, it takes time. So whether you're batching a bunch of content, just before I started recording this, I batched all 5 episodes for the next week of the Potty Report. This is my daily show. It comes out Monday through Friday every single week, and it's 5 minutes or less. So when I plan those out, when I sit down to record, I'm recording all 5 episodes. I plan them, and then I say, okay, I'm going to record. This is how you are able to batch content. You got to have it planned. You can't just sit down and say, oh, I'm going to record 4 episodes today. And I say, oh, that's great. Do you have all of the episodes planned? Oh, no. Well, it's going to be really frustrating if you only have a specific window of time. Let's say you had 2 hours and you were going to try to plan 4 episodes, but then you find yourself like, oh, I got lost in thought. And then I did this, and then I forgot to do this. And then I actually realized, I needed to set my mic up a different way. And it's a whole thing. So make sure you're planning. So when you sit down to record, you feel more confident and you can actually go through the process of having everything ready to record when you do have those set windows of time. Because I know so many of you are creating content on the side. You're doing it after work. Maybe you're doing it on the weekend, but I want you to have time to really focus on recording so that you can get your content out there on a consistent basis. Now, the third point that we got to make here, editing. People spend way too much time editing. I put out a recent Instagram post and it was talking about, it had crickets in the background, right? Like crickets, no one's listening to your content. Nobody's watching any of your content. And it's because you're spending so much time editing it and you're not spending any time marketing it. You could have the best content in the world. You have the best experts. You have the best thought leadership. You have the best advice, whatever it is. But if you're not telling people about it, it does not matter. So editing, it is important. You need to do it. It needs to happen, but you don't need to spend all of your time editing. So this is my tough love talk of the day. If you want to know about the week in the life of a podcaster, a lot of you are spending way too much time editing out worried about how loud you're breathing into the microphone, or you're trying to make sure that you cut out every single little pause and you're just like, you're trying to be an audio engineer. You don't need to be an audio engineer. Find some tools that can help your audio sound better. Cut off the mistakes that you did and then move on about your business because you're coming around again. Like she's going to be coming around the mountain and the next time you need to put out an episode. So don't spend so much time editing. It is part of the process, but it's not the most important part of the Prep'em process. All right, now publishing. Publishing is probably where I spend the least amount of time. And the reason why is not because it's not important. It's because by the time I get to publishing, I've already planned it, I've already recorded it, I've edited it, publishing usually involves uploading it to Buzzsprout. This is my podcast hosting provider. I have a full, playlist of all of my Buzzsprout videos. You should go check them out if you need some specific Buzzsprout tutorials. But it looks like me taking an audio file, uploading it to Buzzsprout, or taking a YouTube video, uploading it to YouTube, doing the things, writing the descriptions, putting the links in where they need to go. But it relatively doesn't take me very long, especially with all the AI tools that are out there now. I rely on TubeBuddy for YouTube. I rely on Co-Host AI for Buzzsprout. Rely on these tools to help you make the publishing process easier. All right. So it shouldn't take you very long. But again, you can't do this because your thing will never be out into the world if you don't first publish it. Now, remember, we talked about this is where people stop. People are like, but Crystal, I put the thing out into the world. If you build it, won't they just come? No, it doesn't work that way. So once you publish it, you have to figure out a way to market it. So what does this look like? Whether it's a podcast episode, a YouTube video, your email newsletter, your social media, you have to figure out a way for you to be able to talk about your content in a way that people are interested in what you have to say. Now, this could look different for one of those, it's a spectrum, right? It's going to be really easy for some people. It's going to be really hard for some people. And then you have everybody in between. And I think that it just comes from a place of really knowing your audience. So if you can know and understand who your audience is, what they want, and what you can actually provide to them, marketing gets so much easier. So don't overthink your marketing and really get into contact with your audience, get feedback from them, do surveys. I have links to all of this that I will put in the show notes for you to check out how to get feedback from your audience. What do surveys look like? And I want you to really dig into that, lean in to deepening that relationship with your audience because it makes marketing so much easier. So marketing is super important. We're going to link to all of the different things in the show notes, in the episode description for today. But we need to move on into the second segment of today's episode because you want to know about the week in the life of a podcaster. I gave you the framework, okay? The prep process is everything you have to do to create a piece of content. So whether you're doing all of this on a Monday or you're doing 4 planning episodes on a Monday and then recording 4 on a Tuesday, editing 4 on a Wednesday, this is going to look different for everybody, which is why I don't really like giving out a week in the life, like I said earlier, as a prescribed, you have to do this on Monday, this on Tuesday, this on Wednesday. Don't worry, I'm going to share with you my exact process of how I do this when I share my Asana boards. But I wanted to talk about doing a time audit because now that you understand the prep process and what every single creator has to go through, remember, plan, record, edit, publish, and market. Now, what does this look like for you? And I have some questions that I wanted to ask you. So take these questions, write them down, take a screenshot of this, take a picture with your phone. And over the next week, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down all of the items that you do related to your content. Okay, every single little thing. If you're researching things, write that down. If you're planning something, write that down. If you're looking for a new guest, if you're reaching out in Facebook groups, whatever it is that you're doing, write it all down because it will come into play here in a second. But here's some questions that I want you to ask. Does it take you an hour to plan one podcast episode? So next time you sit down to plan, start a timer on your phone, start a timer on your computer. There's timers on Google. You can go to Google and say, start a timer and it'll start a timer for you. But I want you to get into the habit of knowing how long it takes you to do something. Because if you're just doing it willy-nilly and you're like, oh, I have an hour here, I'm going to do it. Or the last time you planned something, it took you an hour and a half. So now you're like, oh, it's going to take me an hour and a half to do something. I want you to know how long it takes you to do these things. Again, it's going to vary for everybody, but ask that question. The next one is, do you batch plan and record multiple podcast episodes or YouTube videos? Maybe you don't do it today, but you want to. And if you want to, write that down because it will come into play here in a second when we talk about putting the prep on process into your Asana or your project management system. The next question is, do you do simplified editing or listen at 2x speed to shorten the process? Or does it take you hours to edit a 15-minute YouTube video? The reason why I asked this question is this is one of those tricks that I learned years ago that was life-changing for all of the audio editing that I was doing. So as of me recording this today, I've said this a few times, I've recorded over 1,300 podcast episodes. Some of them I've edited, some of them I don't edit at all. Like the potty report, there's minimal editing, like minimal. Like I'm cutting off the first second and the very last second because usually there's a mouse click in there and I hate it and it drives me bonkers on the back end. But I don't do a lot of editing outside of that. But what I will do is I will listen to podcast interviews. I'll listen to my solo episodes when I'm going back for the Profit podcast. I listen to those at 2x speed. That's right. Like I will make it go as fast as humanly possible. It's the highest setting that it will go. But I listen to it because why am I going to sit down and listen to a 30-minute episode at 1x speed when I was there? I was there for the solo episode or for the interview. I can note if there was a huge mistake, if there was a dog barking, if there was an interruption, if I made a huge mistake. I'm typically making like an audio noise, like I'm clapping or I'm snapping, or I do a long pause where I can see in the waveform that, oh, I messed up there and like something is wrong. I need to edit that out. So editing becomes literally 2x faster because a 30-minute episode now only takes me 15 minutes to listen to instead of 30. So this is why I want you to really cut down on your time editing. And the way that I do this is listening to things on 2x whenever I'm listening and editing my audio videos. That didn't even make sense. My audio podcast episodes. All right, next question. Do all of your publishing steps take a minute? Can you batch schedule your social media posts for a week? Now, what this means, again, we're talking about the prep process for most of these. And when it comes to all of your publishing steps, like what does that actually look like? Not this guesstimate of like, oh, I think I do this and then I do that. Wait, don't I do that first? And then this, like write it all down. Write all of it down. If you go to Buzzsprout first and you put in your title, write that down. If you have to upload to Buzzsprout and then you're using co-host AI and all the cool feature it has, write that down. How long does it take? You need to know these things. That way you can really be strategic with all of your time that you're spending in your production processes. And then the last question I have is, do you batch create your YouTube thumbnails or podcast soundbite artwork on a Tuesday morning? And the reason why I ask this is because I wanted to throw in a very specific question for some of the things that I've done in the past. So typically when an episode goes out for the Profit podcast on a Tuesday, I will wait until that Tuesday morning to create that soundbite because I've done hundreds, thousands of these at this point, and creating a soundbite in Canva takes about a minute. I was going to say 2 minutes or 2 seconds. It takes about a minute for me. So I will create the artwork, upload it to Buzzsprout, wait till it processes, and then download it, and shebang, there it is. But is that something that takes you a long time? Do you take forever to create thumbnails for your YouTube videos? Like you're in Canva and you're like, oh, I got to get it just right. I got to do this. What I have found is when you sit down and you actually time yourself, first, you're going to be a little judgy of yourself. I beg you, please don't be be compassionate with yourself. Don't be hard on yourself saying, oh my gosh, I spent so much time. I'm wasting all this time. I want you to be compassionate in this process, but I want you to also be realistic. If it's taking you 45 minutes to create a YouTube thumbnail and you realize, I probably could have every single one of them is pretty much the same. Why don't I spend an hour while I'm here and I can actually make a few of them? I can just duplicate them, change the topic, change the title, maybe switch out the image, but make sure that you're using your time to your advantage so that you are batching some of this content and making it worth your while. All right, so do a time on it. This is your action item. I have it written in my outline here to tell you this is your action item. Do a time audit and estimate what this looks like for you in your content. So go through the prep on process, write everything down. Again, it's plan, record, edit, publish, and market. So write everything down. How long does each step take you? Now, we're moving into segment 3, where we are showing you, or I am showing you, my Asana boards. This is going to be fun. Again, if you're listening on the audio version, you need to head over to YouTube and check it out because it will absolutely be worth your while. So let me go into my Profit Media. Let me find it. This is my content calendar. Now, I want to show you a few different things because when it comes to Asana, what I love about it so much is the different views that you can have. So I have set this up to where it's in the calendar view right now. But what I will do when I'm planning content is I plan it in the list view because it's just how my brain works. I can easily do a brain dump of, I need to, do a podcast episode this many times a week. And every month and every quarter, I will plan it in the list view. And then when I'm actually ready to go in and do the thing every single week, I like to look at in the Kanban board view. Don't worry, if you've never heard any of these terms, any of these words, I'm showing them all in the video. So again, that's why I'm pushing you to go watch this week's YouTube video. So let me go over to the list view and show you exactly what this means. There's different filters for you to see. I'm going to sort by due date. And I'm going to filter everything that is incomplete. So if you will notice, let me collapse all of these. If you noticed, I have taken all of the Prep'em process and put it into the list view. So what I will do is I will have everything that I need to create for each month. And it is all in the plan column, let's say, at the very beginning of the month. So this is every single podcast episode I need to create, every single YouTube video, every email. I'll put social posts in here. I will put all the different affiliate things that I'm doing. I will put my own stuff, like anything that needs to be planned in the month, I will drop it into the plan column, usually at the very end of the previous month. Or if I haven't gotten around to it, which, life happens, then I will do it on the first week of the current month. So this is how this whole system works. Things will fall down if you have not done that at the very beginning, but you can start in the middle of the month and then work from there. This is actually like a great tip for anybody that's watching this. Is you don't have to wait until the beginning of a year to start something new like this. You don't even have to wait till the beginning of the next month. But what I do recommend is don't go back. Like, don't try to backdate a whole bunch of stuff. Don't try to say, I had this other system and now I'm going to do this, but I need to go back. And no, you don't. From today moving forward, if this is the system that you want to use, then start from today moving forward. Don't go back and retroactively look at anything that you've done. This is how I want you to plan things moving forward. So here's what we have. So planning. So right here, it says I need to record all of my SOPs. I actually haven't done that yet. This is coming up. And if you stay tuned, that is coming. But what I have is I have YouTube videos, Potty Report episodes, my weekly newsletter, and then I have all of the podcast episodes that are remaining for the month. I've also dedicated it to the content type. So if I wanted to filter by the content type, then I could absolutely see these are all the podcast episodes that I have for this month. Same with YouTube videos, same with email newsletters. Now, why do I do this? The reason why I do this is because when I enter them all in, I can make sure, okay, there's so many weeks in this month. Do I have that many podcast episodes? Do I have that many Friday email newsletters that are going to go out to my list? If you are not already on my list, make sure you go to crystalprofit.com, go all the way to the bottom, and you can put your name and your email to get my weekly updates. I send my weekly newsletters every single Friday. It's a lot of fun. I always tell people that it's their favorite email of the week. So go check it out. Get on the email list if you are not already there. But whenever I have finished doing this and I have everything organized for the month, now I know these are all the things that I need to plan. So let's move down to recording. Now, these are actually like what I'm in the middle of doing right now. Like you can see, I'm in the middle of recording something. Then once it goes from recording, I move it into editing. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how I move this from the different phases. Then we move into publishing, and then we move into marketing. And then once it's been marketed, I move it into an archive section. So notice how I didn't say, oh, and then I delete it and it goes away forever. No, because I do so much planning in Asana, I want to keep it and it makes it searchable. I can still search for things once they've been archived. So I will just archive it and it will live there, and I'll move it into, like in 2024, I'll create a new content calendar, and we'll just, like, everything in 2023 will be in one project. Then we'll move into 2024. It'll be a whole thing. It'll be lovely. But okay, so we've talked about the calendar view. We've talked about the list view. I also know people that like to plan in the calendar view as well. So if that makes more sense to you visually, to say, oh, on a Tuesday, I always have a podcast episode, you could write things in that way. It's absolutely fine. Whatever works best for you. But how I really use this, once it's all set up. So again, I plan everything. You can do calendar, you can do the list view. Now I have everything ready to go. Now, when I actually am working in my content calendar, I use the board view. So now you can see, oh, everything changed a little bit. So some of my settings, I'm going to refilter everything. There we go.
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants. Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
This is what I love about this so much. I can have templates over here too. Like, oh, hang on. Let me take off this one filter real fast. Do you see the templates? I have templates for Instagram post, the podcast email newsletter, my weekly email newsletter, Facebook group post, potty report episodes, podcast episodes, and my YouTube shorts. This is where the magic happens, is once you can have templates done in Asana, your world can change, because it's no longer creating something from scratch. You are literally duplicating it every time and saying, these are the steps that I need to go through to create a podcast episode. These are the steps for a YouTube video. So whether it's you doing it all yourself, you have a virtual agent or virtual assistant, or you have a podcast manager, YouTube manager, content manager, whatever, you can have them look at all of this and they know, I got to do this, I got to do this, and we got to do that, and then we got to do this, and then boom, everything's published, marketed, and I feel so satisfied and happy with my content. Very important. I love the templates feature, but let me go back out. So as we're here and we're in the planning phase of everything, I actually was waiting to do this because I didn't want to do it before. Now we're in the Kanban. So you can see plan, record, edit, publish, and market. Again, the 5 steps of the PREPA method. And I need to move plan my SOPs over to here because I actually need to record them. I don't need to plan them. They're already planned. I need to get into recording them. And then once I record them, I need to edit them. And then once I edit them, I need to make sure that they're published. And the SOPs specifically aren't something that I'm marketing. It's not like a podcast episode or a YouTube video, but for the sake of everything here, I can move it over into the marketing column. And then once this is done, if we're pretending it's a podcast episode, it's marketed, it's complete, I can move it over into archive and mark it as done. And do you see how it disappeared? It went away. Actually, let me make sure. Let me click the undo button real fast because I don't really want it to go away because I need to finish doing that. But do you see what I'm saying? Do you see the power of this? So people that come to me, so Theresa, back to your original question. What does a week in the life of a podcaster look like? Well, I would recommend that you set up a system that works best for you, but use the PREPA method because you know you have to do this for every single piece of content. You have to plan it, you have to record it, edit it, publish it, and market it. So set it up to where you know what days you need to plan an episode. What days can you record it? What days are you going to be able to edit it? When are you going to publish the thing and how are you going to market it? And if you can look ahead, this is what people are like, how do you batch stuff? I don't understand. This is how I batch things. All of this I just showed you, this is how I'm able to batch my content because I can see, oh, look, I have 3 podcast episodes that are coming up. I have 2 more newsletters this month that I have to write. If I have an hour that I wasn't expecting to have open in the day, I can come into my content calendar and say, you know what? I can write 2 emails right now. Let me knock those out. Boom, they're batched. Let's schedule those in ConvertKit and send them on their merry way to go out to my audience whenever they're planned to go. Like, this is the mentality of really buckling down on creating really high quality content and batching it in a way that works best for you. So again, to recap, we talked about the Prep'em method. I'm going to say it again. I've said it so many times today, but we're really dialing this in. Plan, record, edit, publish, and market. Then we went through giving yourself a time audit. This is so important. You must audit how long each step of this takes for you. And it's one of those things that it's going to be different for everybody. So if I told you, oh, you should spend so many hours doing this and 20 minutes doing that, it's not going to be helpful. I want you to do what works best for you. And then the last thing is we talked about the Asana project boards. Make sure you go check those out. And I'm going to link to all the previous content that I have done on this. I actually did a podcast schedule. It's a YouTube video that I talk about a typical week of podcasting. Then I have a video that is all about how to podcast in only 5 hours a week. It's the same thing. I'm taking the Prep'em process and I'm breaking it down to 5 hours in a week. And then I have a really old video that may or may not be helpful, but it's where I write down legitimately, this is what I do, the typical week of podcasting. It's from the beginning of my journey. It might be helpful for you if you're in the beginning of yours as well. So I want you to go check those out. I also have some podcast episodes too, but this has been fantastic. This has been such an incredible episode. And if you're listening to this, if you're still here with me today, then I need you to, if you're listening to this in real time, go register for Marie Forleo. She has a webinar right now. Like, you're so lucky to be watching this in real time because she has a webinar all about productivity. And if you've been struggling with time management, project management, this can absolutely help you. And it's called The 3 Sneaky Mistakes That Kill Productivity and Tank Profits. Plus, how to get further faster by working way less. So if everything that you heard here today is something you're like, man, this looks so organized, it looks so fancy, it looks so nice, like, go register for this webinar. Go to crystalprofit.com/productivity because what you're going to learn in this is so many things we talked about today, whether it's getting clear on what your expectations are for your content or trying to find those time sucks. Like, what are the things that are keeping you from having a more productive content schedule? Like, these are the things that you can absolutely learn in this masterclass. So go to crystalprofit.com/productivity to sign up for Marie's free training. And here's the icing on the cake. If you're watching this, again, in real time, between September 12th and September 22nd, 2023, Marie is opening her Time Genius program, and it is fantastic. And if you join with my special affiliate link, you're getting everything you just saw here today in Asana. Like, you're going to be able to take it. I'm going to give it to you in a way that you can literally take it and upload it into whatever project management system you use. If you use Monday, if you use ClickUp, if you use Notion, if you use Asana, or like whatever it is that you use, you're going to be able to take everything, all the templates, the Prep'em, like the whole process, and be able to put it directly in. So you're not starting from scratch. You are not starting from scratch. On top of that, I'm giving you all of my SOPs. So my standard operating procedures. How do I record a podcast? How do I do a YouTube video? How do I do my emails? I'm giving all of my systems to you if you join Time Genius with me between September 12th through September 22nd, 2023. So again, go register for Marie's free training, crystalprofit.com/productivity. And if you're watching this at a later date and the program isn't available right now, then make sure you get on my email list and you will be notified the next time it is available. But Oh my goodness, what a jam-packed episode this was today. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure that you are subscribed or following wherever you are listening or watching the podcast today. And make sure you come back every single week for new strategies on how you can create with confidence and just have fun while you're creating your content. But that's all I have for you today. So as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Crystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Crystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.